Head coach Greg Gard is here. We'll have some opening comments and take questions.
Well, obviously, just to summarize the last week, proud of our guys of how they, not only the two games that got most of the attention with Syracuse and Oklahoma, but the Sunday game too, to be able to come back and regroup from the trip to Maui and play pretty well on Sunday, and then in one day play that well against Syracuse, and then really a totally different type of game on Saturday with Oklahoma. So really happy for our players. They put in a lot of time, a lot of work, and have really been good at attention to detail and adjusting on the fly and executing things for the most part how we want. So looking forward to this week. Idaho State will be, we'll see a variety of defenses, I think. I've known Bill Evans for a while. He was at Montana when Freddie Owens was there as an assistant. So he's kind of the guru of the zone defense and combination defenses out in that Idaho, Utah, Montana region. And then obviously we'll flip the page to Marquette once Wednesday night's over. But like I said, just happy for our guys, and it's a fun group to coach, a fun group to be around. Questions?
Greg, I wasn't here, but I think it was the other day you were asked about the bench, and you said something about that the minutes some of the bench guys gave you in previous games a lot helped some of the starters. But that said, are you still looking for some productivity, more productivity or consistency from certain guys in your bench rotation right now?
Yeah, I think we're always looking for consistency, not only individually but as a team. And I've used a lot of corny, goofy sayings with the team, and some of them are for a point, some of them to keep them loose. And one of the things I've said is if consistency was a place, it wouldn't be very populated. And I've kind of got some kind of weird looks at times. They figured it out now that it's a hard place to get to and to stay there. And not only as a team, which has been our primary goal here, but also individually. And it varies from person to player. I think from game to game, each player's individual strengths or deficiencies play in my mind in terms of who's going to get more minutes and those type of things. And I think our a little smaller lineup helped us more Saturday. And we're pretty well locked in, I think, on 10. And then how 8, 9, and 10 fluctuate within that group really depends on who's the flow of the game, the type of game it is, who's playing well, who's struggling a little bit. So those are always in-game kind of determinations that way. I don't go in with a set-in-stone plan. Obviously, I know Trice is coming more and more to my first thought in terms of getting into me in the game. But, it's pretty well set on 10. Now it's been game by game and the developments within the game.
Greg, within that group, where do you want to see Charlie evolve maybe between now and start a Big Ten play when you're probably going to need him, a lot more?
Well, defensively, I think is one thing that everybody, even Ethan, needs to continue to work on things defensively. But what I've noticed with Charlie is that there's a little difference in his comfort level based on the type of game that it is. A game that's more zone and feel and finding gaps and those type of things. He's not as comfortable if it's a straight man-to-man. So that's been something we've worked on with him, just his feel for the game away from the ball on the offensive end. So I think, I wanted that comfort level needs to grow. That's an area that he needs to understand what his role is and how he can impact the game in those type of scenarios. But I think the biggest thing is probably defensively, because he's going to be put in a lot of ball screen situations, guarding the other team's big. And he's gotten better. But obviously I think each experience that he can have will help him grow.
Jeff.
Back to Trice for a second. I mean, you've talked about his leadership, football, basketball, his poise, all that. But when you guys were recruiting him, did you anticipate he would be as dangerous a three-point shooter so early, so consistently?
No, because I really didn't look at him as that was with that in mind, that's what we needed from him. So that's kind of been a bonus. I wanted just some, just a insurance policy, so to speak, just somebody to solidify the backcourt, to just give us a sound decision maker, and anything that was going to come on top of that was going to be a bonus. Really we recruited him just to make good decisions and facilitate, and then have the other parts grow. But obviously I think he's transcended probably a little faster than everybody's anticipation, including ours.
What was the difference in your defense Saturday between the first half and the second half?
Well, we got better in the last, I won't even say the second half, the last maybe 12 minutes in terms of exchanging the ball, the triple handoffs. We either had miscommunications or we were late on the exchange, and we were also our angles we were taking. We were too deep on the exchange. We got better as the game went on of being more aggressive on the exchange, which changed the angle that they could attack the basket from, which therefore put him a little further away from the rim, which forced tougher jump shots. It was a weird game from that standpoint, and we have a lot of different things we chart, and we've gotten into more analytics. And one of the things we chart are tough two-point jump shots. They shot an incredibly high 50% in what we consider a graph as tough twos. Ironically, we shot 64% in the tough two category. But the biggest thing was we got better on the approach and at the point of attack with the exchange. Instead of being back waiting for the ball to come to us, we were up at the point of the handoff, a little more aggressive and in proper position, and our footwork got better.
Greg, last year, I think towards the end of the year, Alex Kanan wasn't looking to shoot as much, but in camp or preseason practice, he looked very aggressive. Is he kind of slid back a little bit to being tentative at times?
I think confidence. He's trying to work to get some confidence back. That's why I put him over on the scout team more regularly here lately, just to get more reps and try to get that back a little bit. I watched him in drills. He shoots it pretty well. So mechanically, I think he's fine. Confidence, as you've heard me say before, is a unique component. It can make you play above your high water mark, or it can make you play, in an area where you really are, thinking about things. And he just needs to get back to, because he's a talented player, he just needs to get back to that same aggressive mentality that he's had before.
Greg, you had mentioned after the Syracuse game that, if Nigel continues to play like this, he'll have other opportunities maybe to get triple-doubles or produce or have the points and numbers and what have you. He's an intelligent young man, but do you think after games like he's played the last two that he realizes, okay, this is what I've got to do?
Well, I think the whole team realizes this is how we need to play in terms of more than individually specific. And I think that's been the neat part about watching some guys individually or us collectively as a team kind of mature to understand what makes us good and then what can make us really good. And as I said Saturday in the post game, that ironically the same things that make Nigel really, really good in a hard matchup are the same things that make us a really difficult matchup as a team when everybody's on the same page. So I think that's been the process they're growing through, and you're only as good as your next outing. So we'll learn from when we watch film here in another 45 minutes what went good on Saturday and what we need to improve upon, and then prepare for Wednesday. But definitely I see they now get a chance to see, hey, when we do X, Y, and Z, we're pretty efficient. I think the intent, that was always my I guess request from them is, what is your intent here offensively? What is I don't get too caught up in numbers or the quantity. It's always the quality and the intent of what we're trying to accomplish. And I think our intent has been more in tune with what makes us good.
Andy?
Greg, with regards to your reference to analytics, are you as a staff dipping your toe in that water? Are you diving in? And I'm curious how you quantify a tough two.
Well, it's the spot on the floor, and it's the duress that the shooter is under. If it's off the dribble, things that are at the rim. For example, I think we had at halftime Saturday, we had given up 7 baskets at the rim. That's not a tough two. We also have another category above that that's post or layup shots. So tough twos are those from inside the three-point line to basically the layup or relatively easy post move category, where it's either off the dribble or under some form of duress, which is what we like to typically. I have to look back through and analyze every game. This is the first time it's jumped out at that high. Usually it's in the 20%. It plays right into what you would think forcing tough twos would play. 20%, 18%, 10%. But ironically, I looked at their percentages and it was 50, and I looked over at ours and it was 64. Nigel hit some tough jump shots. Vito hit a tough jump shot. Bronson hit a tough jump shot along the baseline. What you would consider a tougher two. So that's, I don't think it's a toe or it's not diving in. We're probably ankle deep, maybe knee deep. I try not to get too over analytical with it, but it's also something that's been, it's put data to reaffirm what you've always thought and believed in. Now you can really, okay, we can see trends. We analyze offensive rebound percentage, free throw percentage per possession, you know, and a turnover percentage. We don't go on a number. It's the percentage of our possessions, typically with most of those other categories. So it's growing. We're learning from it. We're not where the NBA is, or I'm sure other teams are more in depth across the country. But it's the first time in my time here that we've really tried to look at some of that in depth.
I realize you haven't thought much about Marquette or done any preparation with your team, but if from a general sense, you're a state guy. How do you view this rivalry?
Well, you appreciate the tradition. You appreciate the games that have been to have taken place in the past. I was thinking about that driving to our overtime Booster Club luncheon today. Just the players that have played in that game, the coaches that have coached in it. Obviously, you have two programs in the state that have had success, and I think you appreciate those things. You know, thinking back to, I don't remember Al McGuire coaching. I was that young, you know, 6 years old when he finished up at Marquette. You know, and obviously barely remember Bill Cofield here, and do remember Yoder. So there's and then all the players that have played in the game, and the, you know, I think it's neat to have something like that in our state, and we haven't had to go to the government legislature to force it like they've had to in other states to have teams play. So just appreciate that, and we'll turn the page about 9:30, 10 o'clock Wednesday night and start preparing. At least I will. I know our assistants, whoever has the scout, is already into that, but that's when my mind will turn completely to Marquette.
Anything else for Coach? All right.
All good? All right,
Thanks,
thank
Greg.
you.